Howdy, folks. Wanted to talk to you today on this day being Lionsgate Day. The portal is open and things are happening. And I wanted to talk to you about how you actually show up in your business when life, business, your world, whatever it is, might feel really fragmented, and how you actually show up in a way where you're in flow. And I've had different seasons of my life where this has happened. And one of those times was in 2021 when my mum passed away, and life got really fragmented, and in a way where I was really quite disconnected from my own sense of being, and I just kind of just got on with life. But I'm noticing in these last 6 months, there's been another season of fragmentation. So many things in lots of different directions. And I don't know whether you can relate to this at all, but it's something I'm hearing from a lot of business owners and leaders at the moment, is that, you know, things are happening really quickly and they can be quite complex, the things that are happening. For a lot of women my age, you know, there's perimenopause and menopause, and there's caring for older parents and juggling all those things. And, you know, I have people asking me, how do we do it? How do we do it when, for a lot of us, we are the person within our personal brand? And how do we show up as that person when we ourselves or our lives are feeling quite fragmented? And I don't know whether I've got an easy answer for you, but I've got a couple of answers for you. When I was going through the grief of my mum, one of the ways that I did it was I actually just really got down to the business of what I do best and just put one foot in front of the other. And I did not try to innovate too much in that time. I actually just tried to get into doing the business of what I do best, and really trying to amplify that as much as I could in as many ways as I could. But really not trying to reinvent the wheel in that moment. And that might be where you're at, that might be the best that you can possibly do in this moment. And I think the biggest lesson that I have learned in all of those times is that you must give yourself grace in those moments of fragmentation. Like, you seriously do, because life is hard enough, seriously, at times. It can be super hard, but then in other times it can be amazingly beautiful and fluid and flexible, and it can have flow, even during times of fragmentation. And now I'm in the real deep shadow of my own shadow work right now, in terms of another time of fragmentation. And so in this time of my life, I don't feel like I can just get down to regular business like I did in 2021. What I'm learning is that I actually still need to put one foot in front of the other, but I have this real deep desire to innovate and do something differently to what I've always done. And I'm in this state at the moment. This year is actually my 20th year in business. So I'm not some spring chicken when it comes to business. And I want something that can be a little bit more inspiring for me and a bit different. Like, I know that it looks all shiny and wonderful behind me, and, you know, must be fun being me. It is fun being me, but I also feel like, you know, there's parts of my life that are pretty predictable, and my business is pretty predictable in some respects. And I kind of want to shake things up, right? So if you're in that state of your life and your business, and I know a lot of women in their, you know, late 40s and 50s and even 60s are feeling that at the moment, especially so because of this shift in their, you know, just the state of where we're at in our lives. And so I'm hearing this from both men and women. And so my suggestion to you is, in those moments, you need, once again, grace as well, in order to really give yourself the space to be able to say, it's okay It's okay for things to be fragmented and all over the place, or all over the place. It's okay for things to not be exactly how you want them to be. If you don't show up on social media for several weeks, it's okay. It seriously is, actually, on one level, because to be honest, you need to look after yourself. Seriously. That's it. That's how it is at the end of the day. If you can't be there for the ones that you love, for yourself, and for your clients, then what's the point, right? So that would be my suggestion, is that you really need to give yourself some grace and some solitude in the fact that you can do what you can do, and that's all there is to it. And if you're really wanting to innovate, you need space and a capacity to be able to expand. And when you're not feeling like expanding because you're fragmented, well, in some ways fragmentation is expansion in some ways. So I wonder whether I'm expanding anyway. I also pulled some cards. I love cards like this because, I love all these kind of cards. It really taps into my Jungian work with psychology. And I actually came out with, this one came out saying earth and nurture nature. And this is all about finding the flow in your life and actually following that flow rather than getting caught up in all the fragmented parts of it. And it talks about, in this card, about, even nurturing the earth, and, you can't compost something that is hard and solid and tough. You can't do it. It actually just won't let you do it. In order to compost things, you need to break it up. You need to shake things up. You need to soften it. You need to water it. You need to add something to it so that it will not dilute it, but it will just give it more give. And I think that's also the point of grace, is that you need to give. You need to give yourself in some way when you're in this space. You can't just keep pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing, because it just won't work. I've already tried it. It doesn't work. The other one that I pulled was the solar plexus chakra, which is radiant illumination. And I loved this one. Oh, you can't even see that. Hello. Hang on. Let me just try and make it focus on me. There you go. So I loved that one as well, because it feels like it was also about, it actually tapped into fragmentation as well, and all the fragments of light and light rays that come together to form different colors, and how this also is part, they're both part of the same story in terms of how you find flow through the fragmentation. I've often felt like at times, if I'm not in flow, then I must not be in the right state of things. But in actual fact, flow doesn't have to look like just constant rivers of movement and ease. Flow can look like very different things at different times. So I wonder at what point you are in your life at the moment and in your business. Are you in a state of fragmentation? Do you give yourself grace to be able to do that? Are you enabling yourself real space to be able to be innovative and create something different at this time? Maybe you're in a state where you're not going to innovate. You're just doing one thing in front of the other, just putting one foot in front of the other, and just keep on doing what works. And just keep showing up for whatever it is that works for you at this moment. Both are valid ways of doing it. And for a personal brand, both ways work, provided that you show up with just pure truth and vulnerability and owning who you are and not worrying about what other people think when you do it, no matter which way it is. Because both ways are right. Both ways are not wrong. Both ways have value in terms of when you share the experiences that you're having, because the reality is that most people aren't sharing their experiences out there, and they are kind of sitting back, hanging back, waiting to see what everybody else is doing. So my suggestion to you is, if you're hanging back and you're just not sure of how to show up when you are feeling so fragmented, particularly in social media, firstly, give yourself the grace. If you need time off from social media, do it. I have done it over the last few weeks. It's been ages since I've recorded a video. But the other thing is to give yourself grace of how you do show up. Do you show up by just one foot in front of the other, or do you show up by actually just getting really messy? Get really, really messy and just show up however you need to show up and be there and be present and back yourself no matter which way. I'm saying this to you as I'm saying it to myself. I always say that to all my clients. And I'm saying this to you now. I hope you hear what I'm saying and really give yourself that grace. Okay.